What is up, everyone? P-Don's here, and I am back with an incredibly good matchup in UGA. This week, I am taking on the two-time Alola Division champion JPLacy and his Washington Pokemon team. Both of us are 5-1. It's a battle of second place versus third place. And the winner is definitely going to the playoffs. And at this point in the season, with where we are in the standings, I don't think I could ask for a much better opponent than the two-time division champion. So let's take a look at what we're going to be throwing into each other. Obviously, I have my 11 Mons that I've been using since the deadline. But JPLacy's got the Dark Urshifu, the Thunderous that he managed to acquire by trading Zapdos, Mudsdale, Tauros, Crustle, Magneton, Starmie, Moltres, Sneasel, Frostlass, and Naganadel. And I look at this team and it's terrifying. How terrifying? Well, my observations and concerns are everything. Going through prep for this, I could make a solid case for all 11 Pokemon that my opponent has. Obviously, in Draft League, you do sometimes try to stretch a little bit what Pokemon could do what, and see if there's any case that could be made for a Mon to be brought. Not so here. Every Pokemon my opponent has on its face is usable against me. So that does make it a little hard to prep. The good news is I feel like I have a bunch of options into my opponent as well. So I can maybe get him off balance a little bit. But weakness policy procs, odd combos, fast firepower, a wall, WPT's got it all. Now, by policies, like get Sneasel, Frostlass, like Ice Shard and Thunderous, or Mudsdale, or anything like that. Odd combos, like you saw some of the weak armor stuff last week that my opponent posted against the Detroit Rainbow Wings. That's a possibility. Obviously, this team is lightning fast, so yeah, there's going to be a lot of offense coming off of Mons with like base 110 plus speed, and Mudsdale's an incredible wall. Obviously, it can also do a lot of damage, so it's something I got to be careful of. The team speed is ridiculous, and I'm going to show you why on the next graphic, but we will get to that. This is where I kind of wish it was Zapdos instead of Thunderous, because Thunderous can be run two different ways. Obviously, you got the Defiant version, which is pretty offensive, but it can also be run as a Prankster Thunderwave Mon, Prankster Eerie Impulse, and you know, just Prankster in general. And I do remember playing in Gen 5 VGC, where Thunderous was so annoying that I was running stuff like Volt Absorb Jolteon to not be paralyzed by it. It's been a while. The history lesson, I guess. Thunderous is the reason I am very happy about the Prankster nerf in Gen 7, but that's another time, another story. Crustle and Starmie are incredible value picks for my opponent. Starmie is really up the kill leaderboards right now. I think Diggersby has more kills in it, but I think it's close. And Crustle has been a surprise offensive weapon for my opponent. So they're two mons that I need to be careful of. Frostlass Tauros combo speaks for itself, and it has to be respected because if I don't respect it, I am essentially going to be taking belly drummed max strikes once the Frostlass frost breaths the Tauros and activates Anger Point. The Urshifu, Naganadel, Moltres, they can hit hard. That's what they do. Sneasel's good support. And there is so much offense here that I feel like I'm looking at the man in the mirror. I obviously the reference to Michael Jackson's song, but also if anyone's a soccer fan, that's what Christian Pulisic had under his jersey to poke fun at Mexico and the U.S.-Mexico rivalry. So, yeah, I did kind of enjoy it. But me looking at this team, it almost feels like a team that in some other universe I probably drafted as well. So I feel like our approaches to the season and probably into each other are going to be somewhat similar. So it does feel like I am looking at the man in the mirror when I'm looking at this team. This is also a possible playoff preview. As of now, I am not mathematically clinched, but I think even winning one game clinches me. And outside of that, I think there's even a scenario where minimizing the amount of KOs that JPLacy takes on me could also clinch me. We are that close to the playoffs. Obviously, the winner of this match definitely goes to the playoffs. The winner of this match can also still catch ECU for the first seed. ECU is 7-0, including a Week 4 victory over me. And is essentially that team is good, and it's no surprise that right now it's running the table. But I would like to keep the pressure on during Week 8, and I know JPLacy would like to as well. So this is going to be a good one. And I'm predicting the Froslass-Tauros combo. I'm predicting Thundurus and Urshifu since they're the two S tiers and they're insanely good mons. I'm not sure what the last two mons are going to be perfectly honest. I suspect maybe Mudsdale and Starmie, but there are a lot of things that JPLacy can use to support these other four that I need to respect. So, outright calling 2 more mons, I don't know if I can do that, to be quite honest. I'm just going to have to go into the match and see what happens. But I want to make a point about the speed tiers and put it into perspective how fast my opponent's team actually is. I have the 3 fastest mons in the matchup. That's probably going to happen versus pretty much any team except the Manitoba Machampions, who had a Pheromosa, now have an Aceldor. Dragapult, 142. Tapu Koko, 130. Weavile, 125. Virizion is a pretty fast mon at 108. Like, there have been matchups I've been in where Virizion has been faster than the fastest mon on my opponent's team. There have also been a few where like 1 or 2 mons outspeed Virizion. 108 is pretty good in draft. More than half of my opponent's team outspeeds Virizion. Naganadel at 121, Starmie and Sneasel at 115, Thundurus at 111, Froslass and Tauros at 110. 6 out of 11 mons are outspeeding a base 108 on my opponent's team. That is lightning fast. And it is a very good thing that I have those 3 Pokemon above, because this matchup would become so much more harder if, besides the unpredictability, I was naturally slower as well. And my team this week is going to reflect that somewhat. I'm bringing Weavile, Tapu Koko, Politoed, Omastar, which makes its debut, Dragapult, and Gothitelle. I finally named the Dragapult, which is after my Final Fantasy XIV character, Kian. And Nate, Atmosphere VGC, was helping me with the Omastar this week, so he gets named after the Alma Star in honor of the work. But it was hard to prep for this team, and I feel fast mode with Rain and Perish lets me cover as much as I can. I'm potentially expecting a Scarf Icy Wind from something, so Pickpocket Weakness Policy, it lets me boost my offense and keeps my speed if like Sneasel or Frostlass goes for a Scarf Icy Wind. In Dragapult's case, the U-turn will proc, the Weakness Policy will activate, and the White Herb will go onto the Weavile, which would remove the -1 speed, which I think is a nifty tech. Dragapult, as I mentioned, like, it's a support mon this week. There are some ways I could probably run it offensively, but it's going to be at its best supporting the team this week. But it still is Draco Meteor, which can chunk Naganadel and others. I need to run Scarf Tapu Koko for the knowledge I have right now to make sure that I keep the speed advantage. And especially if I find out something is scarfed on JPLacy's team, Electro Web will chunk it down to its normal speed, and Weavile will be able to outspeed it. The Rain mode, it assists with the speed and the offense of the team. And like Politoed and Almastar are nice together. Perish Song can be effective against the whole team, obviously, but in particular, a bulky Mudsdale late game. Like, if AV Mudsdale goes off and gets I don't know, a few Max Quake boosts, a few stamina boosts, it's gonna be very hard to kill. Perish Song gets around it. I've got double Hypnosis to slow the game down if I need to, but I do need to be careful of using it with Tapu Koko. I have no way to change the electric terrain except maxing Koko and turning into Misty terrain, which doesn't help me at all. So I can bring Tapu Koko with the Hypnosis setters. I just have to be very careful with how I use it. Diggersby and Virizion, they're not bad into this team, but they're very high risk, high reward. And it's something that if I desperately had to win this game, I might consider. But as much as I want to win this set, obviously you always play to win. My work in the past 6 weeks, and my opponents for that matter, have put us both in a position where we definitely want to win this game, but we don't need to have our seasons continue. So we don't need to take unnecessary risk to get us into the playoffs. Having said that, Virizion and Diggersby were not really ruled out of the game plan this week till towards the end. And who knows, if I rematch JPLacy in the playoffs, you might see them. And yeah, as I was mentioned, stability is better because I might just need to win one game to get into the playoffs. So that's that. Set's going to be post-commentated. I value live matches, but as I mentioned, I'm focused on the game. I don't really want to commentate while I'm playing the game. So it's going to go on Twitch, and then there'll be a video afterwards. And now I'm going to take you guys into my match versus JPLacy and the Washington Pokemon team. Alright, so we're getting into the battle against JPLacy and the Washington Pokemon team. You can see the 6 I'm bringing. I just covered them. I think they're most effective into the vast majority of what John may be sending against me. And we do see that I got a lot of, like, I got the Mons wrong to a certain extent. But at the same time, as I did mention, all 11 of these Mons were good into me. So, looking at this, I see the team is obviously fast. The Thundurus, I think, is offensive in team preview, but I could see it potentially supporting stuff, like maybe Naganadel or Starmie. I do see the possibility of the Starmie Crustle combo that my opponent used the week before. Urshifu is always scary, and Sneasel is a good support. So I have to figure out what Mon, if any, is Scarfed, what Mon, if any, has Focus Sash, what Mon is going to be the offensive threat. So I decided to just lead my initially planned combo of Dragapult and Weavile, and I'm gonna have the Rain Moan in the back. I do this. I can transfer the White Herb to counter Icy Wind, and with the Rain mode, I can kind of keep the speed advantage via the weather. I feel like, especially looking at the team preview, and especially with no Mudsdale there to wall me, keeping the speed advantage is going to be key against WPP. So Weavile and its pre-Evo hit the field, and Dragapult and Thundurus. I'm thinking the Thundurus is probably maxing here, and I'm thinking there's a chance it could be an Ice Shard weakness policy coming out from my opponent. But if that's the case, then I'm in a pretty good position here, as Dragapult cannot be faked out. If the Sneasel has Icy Wind, I beat it anyway because of the White Herb, and I'm going to activate my weakness policy. So Weavile maxes here. Get some beautiful ice stab coming in onto the Thundurus, and we do see a max here. Obviously, Sneasel probably isn't maxing, so this is going to be Thundurus going big on turn 1. And yeah, the max confirmed. I'm actually sitting pretty here if I'm able to get this knockout, which I should be able to. U-turn goes off, policy activates, Dragapult goes back, and I give the Weavile the White Herb. I'm just kind of thinking which Mon to bring in. Like, given the situation, probably doesn't matter too much, so I just bring in the Politoed to get the rain up. But obviously the rain isn't going to matter that much because it's about to turn into hail. As I fire off the max hailstorm into the Thundurus, and I take it out in one shot. It's always good to take out your opponent's max the first turn of the game. I'm definitely favored at this point, so I just want to keep up the offensive pressure and try to get as much information from my opponent as I can. I do go for the Protect here to set up a potential Perish Song endgame, because I figure I'm probably going to take another KO. And I know Starmie can carry Dazzling Gleam and is annoying, so I just go straight for the Max Darkness and see what it's carrying. And as it turns out, it is carrying Scarf, and it is carrying Dazzling Gleam. So I'm able to get this Max Darkness off with the Starmie revealing Scarf. That's always going to one-shot, especially at +2. And I'm up 4-2. Foul Play comes in, but fortunately I am able to hang on with exactly 1 HP. So whether it's through attacking or Perish Song, this game should be over. But once again, I'm looking to get as much information as I can. I'm spending this trying to figure out which mon to attack to try to see what kind of information I can get. I eventually decide to go for the Perish Song to lock up this game, and I decide I want to see what the Naganadel is running. So I go for the Max Hailstorm into it. And it does protect. But I'm able to KO it through protect. So that also shows me that Naganadel is not focus sashed. And Sneasel's going to take out its evolved form with the Foul Play. But my Dynamax got 3 KOs. Got 3 KOs this game, so it definitely did its job. And Perish Song comes out to lock up the game. Although there are 3 turns left. So I still have to play in such a way to conserve as much information as I can. Now wanting to show my 4th Pokemon, I go into Dragapult again. And yeah, I'm just gonna double up here. I do want to show the Draco Meteor to make my opponent realize that Naganadel may not be as safe in front of Dragapult as one might think. Especially because I'm carrying Draco Meteor and can easily KO it if I hit. So that does like 75% or so. Skull comes in, and Politoed's able to pick up the KO, and we're able to take game 1. With the way the math works, me winning that game 1 has also clinched my playoff spot in the Alola Division. So that's definitely something to celebrate. And anytime you can get into the playoffs of a long 8-week season, it's an accomplishment. But there's still a game to win, and I know my opponent is a very good player and is going to have an appropriate reaction to what I showed in game 1. So I do spend a little bit of time thinking about it, and then we jump into the battle. What I feel like is that Starmie is probably going to lead. It's Scarfmon. I have not shown a Pokemon that has Choice Scarf yet, and I believe in my opponent's mind it'll be a good way for him to get the speed advantage again. So thinking about that, I do want Tapu Koko out front. My Choice Scarf Tapu Koko will outspeed his Choice Scarf Starmie. I do struggle with this a bit, but I do choose to lead Omastar second. Like, I feel like that gives me the most flexibility in like potential leads and stuff. And I'm really struggling with the 4th Mon. Weavile isn't going to have the best way to proc a policy, but it is offensive. Dragapult is more supportive this week, and Gothitelle really isn't the best into what my opponent brought. So, after some contemplation, I do decide to go with the Weavile as my 4th. and we jump into game 2. Now, this is still an important game. If I'm able to win this, I can keep the pressure on Mystic and ECU for the 1 seed. And I was right about the adjustment of Starmie, but Urshifu comes as well, which that's pretty good for Tapu Koko, not gonna lie. I also have not shown the Scarf yet, so I'm approaching this turn as if I have a free KO into Starmie, if I want it. After the information of the previous game, I determined that if there is a Sash, it's probably on Urshifu. So I decided to just take my free KO into Starmie, swap out the Almost Star for a Politoed, make Thunder 100% accurate, and fire the Thunder into Starmie. And at this point, I do reveal on Choice Scarf. The Thunder goes into Starmie, and I'm able to pick up the KO before it does anything. Close Combat does a decent amount, but I do get a Citrus Berry activation here, which definitely mitigates it. And I'm assuming Thundurus is coming in after that KO, which is going to leave me in a tougher spot than one would actually think. Because these are 2 offensive threats, and I don't know if I can handle Max Thundurus with my position on the field. And yeah, the Thundurus does come in. I think about this a bit because it's definitely a tricky position. My opponent has more offensive pressure into me at the moment than I do into him. And I'm trying to figure out the best way to position myself around this. I eventually decide that I am going to play for if the Urshifu is not sashed. If it is not sashed, I can get a Perish Song off once it goes down and try to win the game that way. I do max Tapu Koko right now to get out of Choice Scarf, which does allow me to Gleam. Though it's not Dazzling Gleam now, it's Max Starfall, and that's going straight into Urshifu. To no one's surprise, my opponent maxes the Thundurus in this position. This is very scary because Max Airstreams can easily come out, and I lose the speed advantage here, which both of our teams need the speed advantage to function well, and it looks like my opponent is about to take it. I do fire the Starfall into the Urshifu, and it is confirmed to be Focus Sashed, which is kind of annoying, not gonna lie. And my opponent goes for Max Airstream, gets a bit of damage on Politoed, but more importantly, makes Thundurus and Urshifu faster than my Tapu Koko. So I need to be very careful here. My best play is probably waiting out the Dynamax and taking out the Urshifu to make it at this point, a 4-on-2. But as my match with Pat Max showed 2 weeks ago, 4-on-2 isn't everything if your positioning isn't that great. And my opponent right now has superior positioning. I figure Omastar is probably the best switch here. Might be able to take a max airstream. And I would like it to live, but I don't need it to live, I guess. And the Thundurus shows max overgrowth, which combined with max airstream instantly tells me that this is a mixed Thundurus. I don't know if it's physically mixed or specially mixed right now, but it's definitely mixed. And because of the speed advantage, the Urshifu is able to get the close combat off, and Omastar drops in one hit. I fired a Starfall into Urshifu again, and I'm able to take it out. So it is now a 3-on-2, but once again, I feel my opponent's positioning is superior in this case. I go for the Politoed, hoping it's like Sneasel in the back, maybe get the Parasong up, but it's Naganadel. So once again, I am pressured pretty heavily by my opponent's potential offense. I need to figure out a way to get around more max airstreams, the raw offensive power of Naganadel, and you know, like a max lightning from Thundurus. I decide that that the Politoed was not going to be taking an electric attack this turn, and I go for the Parasong. I was right about that, but unfortunately, Tapu Koko did not survive the double up from the Thundurus and the Naganadel. And we also see it's a special attack boost, so it's something I do need to be concerned with. The good news is, for me, the game is on a timer now. If I can keep Politoed alive for 3 more turns, I win. Weavile also threatens super effective damage against both of these mons, but unfortunately, because of the max airstream boost, it's not faster than either of them. I go for the Hypnosis on the Thundurus because I figure maybe I can get a double protect if I need to, and I feel like Politoed can take an attack. Unfortunately, even with no electric terrain, Politoed does die to the rising voltage, so this game's over. Had I known that Politoed was going to die, I probably could have protected. Also, my opponent split his attacks. I felt there was a chance that Weavile would be doubled, so that's part of the reason I didn't protect Politoed. Had I called that turn better, Thundurus would have risen voltage into a protect, and then Weavile would have been able to take on the Naganadel. I would have had an opportunity to put the Thundurus to sleep, or hit it with a triple axle, and I probably would have won the game in the set right there. But my opponent made a read and outpredicted and outplayed me on that turn, so definite props to him, and we go into game 3. Also, I was based on some of the tie-breaking stuff I was looking at prior to the match, and the fact that my opponent and I have the same differential for games. Winning that game, I'm 99.9% sure, also clinched the playoff spot for the Washington Pokemon team. So this can absolutely be a rematch in the playoffs. But for now, we do have a Game 3, and we definitely fighting to see who's going to get 6 wins on the season. I am taking a bit of time here to contemplate my options. My opponent's strategy seems to revolve around Dynamaxing the Thundurus. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to play around that. But Urshifu is also a pretty big threat. So if I lead Dragapult and Weavile, it's definitely great into the Thundurus stuff. It is not so great if my opponent leads Urshifu. So all this stuff is going through my head as like the team preview is about to pop up. What I am sure of, though, is that I'm going to need the rain mode at some point. I've seen 5 of my opponent's Mons there. All of them are pretty fast. All of them hit pretty hard offensively. The rain mode can mitigate that somewhat. And if Crustle comes out, I can also hit it super effectively with both Politoed and Omastar. Well, in particular, though, Omastar, because Politoed probably isn't going to be doing too much damage. But thinking about it, I opt for the Tapu Koko and Weavile here because I feel it is the safest option based on how my opponent is playing. I would love to lead Dragapult and Weavile instead, but I need to cover the Choice Scarf Starmie. I need a way to hit Urshifu, and I need speed control of my own. So I feel the Tapu Koko Weavile option is probably the best here, and I lock in the rain mode in the back. And it is Starmie and Sneasel. Had I led Dragapult and Weavile here, it might have been an insta-win. Because doing the White Herb thing would have been so huge for mitigation of a possible Icy Wind. Dazzling Gleam wouldn't KO either of them, and Weavile would get an attack off pretty easily. But this gives my opponent Fake Out pressure, but I also have 2 possible maxes here, and I do decide to just go for the more obvious one, figuring that Weavile is good offense anyway, and I go for the Max Strike and the U-turn play. I don't mind Weavile taking a Choice Scarf here. The reason I don't mind that is because I have 3 turns of Max anyway, and I'm going to leave this Weakness policy off. Except I'm not, because I'm getting faked out, and I'm getting Icy Winded. The exact thing that I tried to prevent in team building happened to me anyway. Best laid plans of mice and men. But this Max Strike is going to restore my speed advantage, at least temporarily. But my positioning isn't great because of the turn 1 Max here. I know I have to prepare for the eventuality that Thundurus is going to max when it comes in. So, what I ultimately want to do is have Tapu Koko and Omastar in just as Thundurus comes in. I can U-turn, get some chip damage, and then fire off a Meteor Beam when Politoed comes in, because I'll be able to outspeed the Thundurus. So, I'm choosing my attacks here to try to keep both of these mons alive, to keep the positioning up. Tapu Koko does go into the Starmie. And I do bring in the Politoed to set up the rain again. Weavile actually misses the Icy Wind, which is which was interesting, I guess. And the Max Strike comes in, but to my chagrin, it actually KOs. Like, I do remember doing some calcs, and I thought Starmie might survive that, but I guess not. And the Sneasel shows fake tears, which is an interesting tech. But with the Starmie, Thundurus, and the Naganadel, that works pretty well on the Sneasel. So yeah, that's a nice call. And the Thundurus is coming in. And the Thundurus is probably going to max here. So, what am I doing to deal with it? That's what I'm trying to figure out right now. I have 3 turns I probably need to get through in order to win this game. I figure Weavile's the target. So I get a little risky and I go for the Scald onto the Sneasel. And I give up my max and bring in Tapu Koko. I figure Tapu Koko is most likely to be able to take a hit from Thundurus. And I can get some decent damage onto the Sneasel with a Rain Boosted Scald. And the Thundurus does Dynamax here, as expected. And we see the Max Lightning into what used to be the Weavile. So that was a good switch. And Taunt is another nice tech. But fortunately for me, I do go for the Scald. I get some good damage on the Sneasel, but I do fail to pick up the KO. Alright, so I have 2 turns left of the Thundurus Dynamax, and I need to stall it out as best I can. Tapu Koko controlling speed with Electro Web is going to be crucial. And it's also going to KO the Sneasel, so protecting the Politoed, swapping into Omastar to get the offensive positioning is good for me here. And the Electro Web should be able to do the work I need. Except it doesn't do the work I need because Thundurus avoids it. I do get the KO on the Sneasel, which is nice, but I needed that speed control on the Thundurus. And the Airstream goes off into the Omastar. It's negligible damage, but the Thundurus is increasing its speed. So, that's a pretty big problem for me. The reason I am still in this game, though, is because Tapu Koko is Choice Scarf. If it was any other item, the Airstreams would have run me over. But I do have another chance to get a max airstream negated by firing a Scarf Electro Web into the Thundurus. I also go for the Meteor Beam into the Thundurus, hoping to take it out. Naganadel protects, so I'm definitely happy to see that because I'm double targeting Thundurus this turn. Get the Electro Web chip. Hopefully the Defiant won't matter too much. And I'm thinking this Meteor Beam has to hit. I already missed an Electro Web. If I miss this, I'm screwed. Fortunately for me, the Meteor Beam hits. Unfortunately, the Thundurus hangs on. So, Max Airstream comes out, Tapu Koko ends up taking it, and it faints, and I'm in a bit of a tough spot. I am also ruining that Electro Web miss, because if I did hit that Electro Web, the Thundurus would have fainted with the additional chip. But got to take what the game gives you and play around it as best you can. I have 2 Mons that I do not think my opponent can knock out. Like, I don't think 2 attacks are going to knock out both of them. So I double target the Thundurus to get it off the field. But as it turns out, the Omastar is able to dodge the Draco Meteor, which was huge. And then the Rising Voltage didn't KO the Politoed, which was nice. And I do get to KO the Thundurus with the Omastar Scald. And I'm going to get some chip damage into the Naganadel with the Politoed Scald. So, the rain stopping is a bit annoying there. Omastar loses its speed advantage. But offensive pressure is, I think, the best I've got at this point. So I go for the Earth Power and Perish Song. The Draco Meteor does KO Omastar, but I'm able to get the Perish Song off. And this game is put on a timer. Naganadel is actually able to KO both of my remaining Mons in 3 turns, so I do need to be careful here. Swap in Weavile, go for the Triple Axle, and I do go for the Hypnosis to try to assist the Perish Song stalling. Unfortunately for me, the Naganadel protects. I assume my opponent probably thought I was carrying Fake Out, but my max strike was Giga Impact this week. It was a fully offensive Weavile. So that protect essentially wins me the game. Well, probably like 90% of the time, because I'm able to go for the Triple Axle and the Hypnosis. But I do choose protect anyway, because I think the Politoed is going to be targeted. But it's not, and Weavile gets targeted instead. However, because it's -1, Weavile is able to live, and I have won this game. It's just a matter of how. And Triple Axle is able to pick up the KO. and I'm able to defeat JPLacy and the Washington Pokemon team 2-1. That match lived up to the hype, and I feel like there's a chance I'm going to see him again in the playoffs, and if that happens, I'm looking forward to it. And we are back, and we are in the playoffs. I was able to defeat a very tough opponent 2-1. That set kind of lived up to the hype that I thought it would be in my head when we got the schedule. JPLacy is a very, very good player, and this might not be the last time I see him this season. So I'm glad I was able to land the first blow here, but he's gonna have a say in the playoffs because he's in as well. As for this set, it really was a man in the mirror matchup. Like I showed the slide where my opponent has 6 Mons that outspeed Virizion. Like, it's a very fast team. Lot of offensive potential. Urshifu, Thundurus, Naganadel, and yeah, I felt stylistically we were similar, and it was just a matter of who was able to keep the offensive pressure and positioning on better than the opponent. And fortunately, I was able to do that this week. Now, last week, it felt the same way for me because my opponent had more bulky Mons, like Tapu Fini and I guess Galarian Zapdos also counts. These kinds of Mons. Goodra especially, even though it wasn't brought. These kinds of Mons, they're not technically as offensive as my opponent this week, but they had a lot of things that could hit me super effectively and threaten the 1-2 big knockouts. So from my vantage point, I kind of had to prep for this week the same way I did last week. Obviously differing Mons, but stylistically it felt the same. And especially with my opponent kind of reflecting the offensive pressure that I was showing, it really was a man-in-the-mirror matchup. And I'm happy I was able to get through it. Now, the expected Mons were inaccurate, but my team covered what it needed to do. Like, for example, I did expect Mudsdale to come. Like, theoretically, it could have been a way to slow down the game. I did expect Frost/Tauros combo. Like, that, the devastating power that Tauros can have at +6 is really dangerous for any team to deal with. But the Mons my opponent brought were also dangerous. Like, as I said, all 11 of these Mons were viable. But playing this matchup also did help me confirm mentally that some of the approaches that I left on the cutting room floor for this week also had some viability. So if I am able to meet this team again in the playoffs, I may be able to go in a different direction and hopefully achieve the same result. Obviously, it's going to be tough, but yes, seeing what was played, I think I have more than one way to deal with this, but we will cross that bridge when we get there. And yeah, due to this result, we are in the playoffs. I mean, any time you clinch a playoff berth, it's a wonderful day. So, yeah, hard work over the season has been rewarded, and now we have a chance to take it further. And at the end of the day, this is a team. This is not an individual collection of Mons. You need all of them to work together towards some sort of common goal, which is, I would assume, is winning the championship. Diggersby was kind of approaching the threshold of being the kill leader of the Alola Division. I think it's, as of now, 5 KOs behind, and I think like 3 behind Nente, 5 behind Celesteela. I probably could have designed a game plan that specifically boosted up Diggersby's kill numbers. I might have lost the set if I did that, but I might have put Diggersby in the kill lead, which I guess would be good, but I'd rather win the set, and I think a lot of other people would too. So yeah, it's a shame Diggersby couldn't go after the kill lead this week, but getting wins for this team, it's more important. So I'm gonna jump into our playoff scenarios for Week 8. No matter what, though, the good news is we're in. We've clinched a playoff spot in UGA's Alola Division. We've got a 6-1 record. 7 out of 8 games have been played this season. There are 9 or more teams that cannot catch us. I think the actual number is 12, but still, there are too many teams that cannot catch us. We've clinched. We can still finish anywhere from first place to fourth place in the standings. But in order to finish first, I need to win next week and get help. I won't rule it out because AJ is going to be playing for his playoff life. And that is a damn good player who's going to be playing ECU next week. If AJ is able to give Mystic the game that he gave me in week 2, there's a shot. But we'll see. However, if I do know that if I win next week, I clinch second place at minimum, which obviously is good. But if I'm able to, if I lose, I could be caught by both the Sacramento Sandslash and the Washington Pokemon team. Maybe one, maybe both. I don't know. But to not have to worry about that, let's just win next week. This is the only time I'm going to be discussing this until it actually happens, because it's not something I want to think about. I still have to deal with a lot of good players to win this league. I don't even know if I would say I'm favored to win the league. I mean, we've got a guy that's 7-0. We've got a lot of good players who have taken me to Game 3 and have given me everything they've had. But this is one week where I can still influence this factor down the line. So I might as well just think about it this week and then put it in the back of my mind, and if it ends up being relevant, so be it. The Champions Tour is whoever wins the 6 divisions in UGA will then play off against each other to determine the UGA Grand Champion. And because it is an uneven amount of divisions, 6 in this case, the top 2 performers who make it there will get a bye. If I'm able to get to 7-1, and I'm fortunate enough to then go on to win the Alola Division, I probably put myself in play for one of those 2 byes. So, winning may not have that much of an impact for this league, but it could help me massively down the line if I am able to eventually win the Alola Division. It's not something I'm that comfortable really thinking about, because I still have to navigate the Alola Division, as I've been saying, and I've got a lot of good players ahead of me. But I do need to at least acknowledge it and basically do something about it while I still can. So after this week, no more Champions Tour thoughts until I make it, if I make it. Now, as for the Alola Division playoffs, 4 teams have clinched. Us, ECU, Sacramento Sandslash, and the Washington Pokemon team. And looking at the standings, 5 wins should be enough for playoff hopefuls, but we have a lot of teams hovering around the 3-4 loss mark. 4 losses, 4 wins, 4-4 record might get you into the playoffs. So there's going to be a lot to play for next week. And what is next week? Well, I have one more game against another playoff contender, the Jersey Venusaur. At 4-3, they are going to be fighting for their playoff lives. I think they're one of the better chances to get in if they have a 4-4 record. I think their differential is +2 at the moment. So they theoretically could take a loss and still make it. But they definitely want to win this week, and they're going to be coming for me. So an interesting fact about this week is that this is the first redirector I'm facing all season. I did not see a Rage Powder Mon or a Follow Me Mon throughout my first 7 weeks of the season, which could have to do with how the league tiered redirection. Like, for example, the Togepi I have is a tier C Mon, not a tier D Mon. There were no redirectors in the bottom tier, and a lot of the redirectors, like Togekiss, obviously, the NDD that was drafted, but even the Clefairy line, they were S tier, and Togetic was A tier. So redirection was hard to come by in this league, and it's probably not too surprising that my first match against the redirector is week 8. They also have interesting speed control options, and there's some weather options, and Turtonator is always a threat. Like if anyone remembers WBE last season, A-Drive made it the kill leader of WBE. So it's definitely a threat. There are a bunch of threats that this team can throw at me, and I've got a week to figure them out. And yeah, I'm going to put the prep in. I'm going to try to win this, and we're going to try and finish 7-1 and see what happens. Thank you all for watching, guys. For those of you who've been watching throughout the season, of course, I definitely appreciate it. We've got one more regular season game, which I just kind of talked about, but I'm gonna get you guys at least one playoff match, which is great. And yeah, thanks for joining me on this ride. I will see you all next week.